Hello everyone, welcome back to Mono Chess channel. Today we're gonna do a game recap of my friend's game. It's a 10-minute rapid chess on chess.com. The two players rating are about 900, and my friends sent me this game as a sample so I can make a video on it. So I think both sides played relatively good. So let's take a look at this game. So my friend plays white, and the move start with e4, d5, it takes d5, queen takes d5, knight c3, queen a5, knight f3, c6, and a boom bishop c4. In my opinion, I prefer this move d4. The idea is to try to put the bishop on d3, and maybe you can develop your dark square bishop to d2, and then play queen e2 and then long castle. Because you can see in this type of structure, uh, the black has no weakness. So if you want to play for more, you definitely will try to castle queenside and have some fun. And so uh, here bishop c4 is played, knight f6, and h4 try to stop white from pinning the knight to the queen, and bishop f4, f5, castle, e6, and d3. Try to open our dark square bishop and retreat this bishop, and bishop d6, and bishop d2. So here, because you see in this pawn structure, the c6 is really annoying because your knight on c3 cannot draw into b5, cannot draw into d5. So this knight in this opening is usually is not a good pieces. You have to try to read out a knight. Let's say you move to e2 and maybe go to g4 in some case, or go to f4. Or if you it's possible, you definitely try to trade this knight for another pieces. So here, computer suggests a very strong move, knight e4. What this move does, it looks like, oh, you lose a pawn because only pawn guard this knight. But you can see the queen now target this bishop. So let's say if knight takes, pawn takes, you lose a bishop. So if bishop take, you take with this pawn. Oh no, sorry. Let's say if white black try to keep the bishop, you will lose the knight and damage your king side. If you move the bishop this way, maybe in some case you can just trade and then play c3 and followed by d4. So the bishop is not very good at this diagonal. It's blocked by this pawn chain, so it's not powerful. So maybe black has to play bishop take e4 after you take back with a d pawn, and you're threatening maybe to forward, and this bishop is hanging, so you have to move. Let's say move to this square, and after bishop d2, move the queen. You can play bishop to c3 and trying to push the pawn to e5. Let's say black just castle, very normal move. You can consider to push the pawn, and you have a maybe bishop c3 is not good because you try to push e5 to open out the diagonal for the light square bishop. So maybe rook e1 is better. Let's say black just castle. You can push the pawn and move your light square bishop to the d3. So you got a very good attacking chance. So in the game, bishop d2 is play is a good move because you attack your opponent's queen. So the queen to the amazing c7 square try to control this diagonal, so the bishop can stay on d6 forever, and rook e1 castle. And now in this position, you can see black really has no weakness, and black does not control center with d4 and c3 or c4, so you don't have the like a c4 d4 d5 plan to break the center. So it's a relatively stable position. So now maybe I will play knight h4 try to attack this bishop. If a bishop move, you can take, and you got a bishop pair. Or you can try to play the move a4, try to control more space on the queen side. And maybe reroll the knight to e2, and maybe try to move the knight to another square and activate your like dark square bishop, because you see this knight cannot go anywhere, and this bishop is really passive here. Has no target, so you have to reroll your pieces in this type of position. And my friend find a plan to play a3. Idea is to play b4 and then b5, try to trade some pawns and try to make progress. Although it's not the best plan for this position, but it's still a good plan. Try to play for something. And so now black plays the move h3. It is give the bishop a home to escape. And b4, knight bd7, and then b5. And now black plays c takes b5. This move is not a good move because black can play knight takes b5, try to trade knight for the bishop. So you can see usually in this type of position, the c6 pawn really restrict this knight. So you definitely want this pawn here. If black just play a natural move like uh, rook ABA after trade, the pawn still can restrict this knight, and you can activate your pieces. So it's really no need to trade this pawn. And after you trade, the knight suddenly can join into the attack, and at least he can trade the knight for the bishop, and 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 you can see in this position, you can see the knight, the queen and the rook on the same diagonal, so you can play bishop b4, and you're winning the exchange. So taking this pawn is actually losing, because due to the bishop b4 to secure the bishop, secure the queen and rook. And my friend played the move bishop take b5. It's not good because you always try to trade this knight for other pieces, and you can win the exchange, or you can activate your dark square bishop. Let's say white play rook b1, and in this position, although you didn't have this tactics to win an exchange, you can put your bishop on this diagonal. So your pieces is suddenly being super active. So you definitely want to try to take with a knight. But bishop takes is on the board. After develop rook to here, maybe the idea is to push the pawn and then ultimately play e4. And my friend plays a move bishop take d7. It's not a good move. Why? Because usually your bishop is much more powerful than this knight, because this knight is not just stay on the 7th rank, not attacking anything, and your bishop is somehow is very active. You want to keep this bishop, and your opponent didn't do anything like a6 try to attack your bishop, so you really no need to take this knight on your turn. Maybe I will play the move like a4. Ideas to meet ac with bishop c4, try to keep this bishop. If black try to make progress by playing the move e5, your bishop are suddenly being active. Or you can make some plan by maybe moving the knight to somewhere and try to activate this dark square bishop, because your bishop cannot go to g5, cannot go to f4. Maybe go to here is a plan. But now your knight is hanging, so you have to move your knight first. And so this move doesn't do anything, just try help black develop his pieces. Maybe it's better to take with the queen, because yeah, knight is also fine. But knight takes run into the move knight b5, try to trade a powerful dark square bishop. So after trade, bishop b4, queen c7, because because you can see that the queen is targeting this pawn now, so my friend plays a move c4. If we play c3, maybe this bishop will be attacked. Yeah, this bishop is gone, so you have to play c4. But now look at this structure. Originally, white has no weakness, but now after this trade, the pawn structure is changed, and you can see white has a really weak pawn on d3. So if I were black, now the black's plan is to um, try to open a try to occupy a d file, try to stack your rook on the d file, and then try to win this pawn on d3. And I really want to restrict black's move, so maybe the best move here will be e5 to control this pawn, so this pawn cannot push. If we push, you can even play e4, get more space, and suddenly you have very a good attacking chance on king side. And then maybe plays f6 to consolidate the structure, and then play rook a d8. And let's say maybe here like this, put your rook in the center, and then maybe play a5, and then play knight c5 to attack in this pawn. But now black played the move a5 and play b5, so he didn't play on this weak pawn. He tried to play on the queen side, and after bishop, so you cannot take this pawn due to this pain. But now knight d4 looks tempting because you attacking this pawn simultaneously attacking this bishop. If bishop go here, black just loses the pawn, so black has to play b takes c4. After bishop take, pawn take, you can trade the rooks and then play pawn take c4. White cannot black cannot take on c4 because now at least you'll lose another pawn, or maybe even bishop take g7 is stronger because now it's the knight hanging, and you can see in the endgame this pawn are all weakness. So maybe the best move for black is to play rook e4, try to win this pawn with a rook. Now you can play bishop take a5 because after queen takes d7, rook takes c4. Now the material is equal, so it should be a draw with a perfect play. And but now white has exchanged all of his weakness, so white should be fine. So, but this move, bishop e5 is played after queen move to c5 trade. You still has a really weak pawn on d3, so it's really not a good position for white to play. And now this pawn is under attack, so you have to defend maybe to play. You have to play this move, rook e3, but it's really hard for white to keep this pawn. After rook b1, black can just take this pawn now because just win a clean pawn. So after queen c5, try to win this pawn. My friend played the move a4. Maybe the better move here will be queen a4 and try to guard this pawn with the queen and simultaneously attack the white knight, black knight, and you activate your queen. So you cannot just put your pieces on the at home. It doesn't do anything. Just the only function for this queen is to guard this pawn. So you cannot play chess like this. It's too passive. And after this move, rook b8. Now black just hang his rook is the the first blunder, the second blunder he made. But white doesn't find. He play the move bishop d4 to attacking the queen. After trade, you have to take this rook or you will lose material due to knight takes c5. So both sides trade and play the move queen d5, and my friend played the move queen b2, try to win the pawn on g7 after f6, and g4 is on the board. This move is not a good move because Firstly, you weakening your king so much, and secondly, this knight is hanging. So if white black just play queen takes knight after you trade this knight and take, you can see your king is really open. Black's plan is to play e5 and read our knight maybe to h4 or to f4 and try to attacking your queen. Even though you trade the queens, in the end game your pawn structure is uh, really sad. They are all weakness. So why is losing? But black plays the move bishop take d3 after queen d2 attacking this bishop, queen take f3, rook e3, and trade all the pieces. Now in this endgame, black is out a pawn on e6, so clearly black is better. But maybe if you trade a uh, bishop and a knight, maybe in the rook endgame you have some chance to draw the game. So maybe the better plan for black is not to trade the queens because you can see white's king is really weak. So maybe you kill the queen on the board. Maybe you can play queen c6 and target this pawn. Let's say rook takes d3. Oh, you can even take this pawn because magically there's no discover attack. If you try to take this pawn, knight can tap back. So yeah, if you try to move the bishop back to e3, you black now can play a knight e5. So in this position, black is 2 pawn out and should be win the game. But in the game, this endgame is on the board. After e5, bishop b2, knight b6 try to win this pawn. Yeah, this pawn is going to lose, so you have to defend. But now this square is straight. Your rook is blocked by your bishop, so maybe you have to counterattack your opponent's pawn. So you play bishop c5. If black try to guard this pawn, at least you can guard your pawn. You can try to defend in this endgame. But now after queen g2, knight takes a4. Now white 2 lose the second pawn, so it's really hard to survive in this endgame. So I think the best plan for black now is to put your rook behind your pass pawn and try to push your pass pawn. And if the pawn is close to promotion, white has to play very passively. So his pieces will ultimately paralyze, and black has all day can improve your position, like centralize your king, and try to push your pawn on the king side. But black try to infiltrate into the black's position is still a good plan. But you notice that your pawn is all on the dark square, so your opponent has a dark square bishop. So maybe this pawn will be a target. So after rook d7, if you play queen g6, suddenly bishop f8 is going to win this pawn. So maybe the better plan here maybe is to centralize your king, try to give out this pawn, and try to push this pawn. Yeah. So I think that the rook should stay in the back range to guard the king and put a maybe maybe put a rook on the AA and try to attacking the bishop and try to push the pawn is a better play. So after bishop f8, so now because rook take g7 it cannot stop, so maybe you have to play this move and check and activate your king, and at least you can try to win the f3 pawn. Yeah. So after but black plays the move h5 after check. So the only move here is to play queen h6, but unfortunately this wrong into a tactic. The bishop and the king on the same diagonal and blocked by white's rook. So uh, rook b7 is a disbarber check. So after king move, you lose a rook. So white is winning the game. So after some later, white win the knight and win the pawn and convert into the winning endgame. And ultimately, it should be winning. Yeah, my friend win this game. So I will summarize some points. So I see my friend does doing very well in the opening and try to find a plan in the middle game. The first mistake is to you have to play knight takes b5 because this knight is really not doing anything here. And by trading your knight, your bishop can have the square c3 and should be active in this diagonal. And you can win your opponent's bishop and you have the bishop pairs. And the second mistake is here. Is real is you play bishop take d7 is not a good move because you just give out your strong pieces to a very bad pieces. So it's not, although it's a bishop's 3 point, the knight is 3 point, this trade is not good. Positionally is not good. And then okay, here trade. And here Blash, the better plan for Blash is to play on the center to target this weakness. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all for this game. Okay. So I hope you liked today's video. If you like my video, please comment below and subscribe. Thank you. Hope you see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.